Welcome to this presentation of the Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership Next Level webinar series. My name is Jill Johnson. I'm the co-founder and CEO of the Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership, and we are so glad to have you with us. We have a really amazing presentation presented by Barry Cohen, the founder and CEO of AdLab Media Communications. Welcome, Barry.
Thank you very much, Jill.
So how many of you have thought about writing a book? If you're anything like me, you think about it all the time. You think about these great topics for a book and that you have all this content that you love to share, but you can never just quite get it off the ground and get started. Maybe if you can get started, you can get finished, but it's just getting started. And, when you think of people who write books, automatically credibility comes to mind, and they are the authority in whatever it is about which they wrote. And so today we want to talk to you about how you can create that same authoritative voice for yourself, how you are representing your expertise in the form of a book. Barry is an expert who has helped many people write books and to really climb within their industry through using a book to publish and demonstrate their expertise. So he's going to talk to us about that. Before he gets going, for those of you who are not familiar with what the Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership is all about, we're a not-for-profit organization, and our overall mission is about supporting economic development through entrepreneurship. What that means in a practical sense is that we work with entrepreneurs like you to help you gain access to the knowledge networks and capital that you need to succeed. It can be lonely out there being an entrepreneur. Sometimes you need someone to talk to. You need a support system. You need someone to bounce ideas off of. We are that resource. A lot of the work that we do is very hands-on, intensive, one-on-one support. We provide affordable expertise to really help you figure out how to go from where you are to where you want to be. Our resources range from classroom training that we do through our Workshop on Business Opportunities program, again, through one-on-one support. So however we can help you, we are happy to do that. We succeed when you succeed, and our goal is to help you take your business to the next level. We do work with for-profits as well as nonprofit and social venture entrepreneurs. So with that said, and we will provide a little more contact information at the end. With that said, I'd like to turn it over to Barry so he can talk to us about how to publish to get our expertise and our authoritative voice out there into the marketplace. Barry, it's all yours.
Thank you, Jill. Okay, we're calling this session Publisher Perish, the New Business Mantra. If you've come from academia, you know that was always the standard for professors. If they wanted to get promoted, retained, or tenured at a college or university, they had to publish. Well, it's becoming the standard now for those of us in business as well. It's becoming commonplace. It's becoming almost expected that if you're credible, that you've published. So why would we do this, right? Well, publishing provides instant expert status. Once you're a published author, the media, everybody just automatically respects you as an expert. By publishing, you raise your profile, you increase your credibility, right? So where does that get you? It gives you a competitive edge. It raises your value perception, positions yourself above others. So when you go in, you make a presentation, then you reach into that briefcase at the end and pull out your book and ask the prospect, how would you like this inscribed? You've got a wow factor going. Years ago, before I published my first book, I remember asking a friend and colleague in the ad business who had a larger ad agency who had already published his first book. I said, what did it do for you? And he told me, he said, there were times when he got called in for competitive reviews, when he had a chance to present for a client that he might not have had. He would have been considered too small, but the book gave him that extra edge. And then in addition to that, it was that thing that made him remembered above the others. After they've done the dog and pony show, so to speak, and they've seen presentation after presentation, after a while, everybody kind of blends together, and it's, was he the guy with the blue folder, the guy with the white folder, or the guy with the red folder? No, he's the guy with the book. So you want to be the guy or gal with the book. Okay. So again, why publish? First of all, you will attract press, right? A book is a press magnet, and press begets more press. Today, it's so important to become searchable online, right? And to do that, you have to expand your digital footprint. Today, it's not about your website. It's about your overall online presence, what we call your digital footprint. The more content there is about you and the more places on the web, the better chances are going to that people will find you. So you become more searchable, you become more prominent online, people find you easier. And again, they find you in ways that are setting you up as the authority. The ultimate goal is to make yourself so preeminent that you become synonymous with your business category. So who's doing this? Well, all the best known business leaders are doing it. People like Guy Kawasaki, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad guy, right? Long before there was Donald Trump, the political candidate, there was Donald Trump, author of The Art of the Deal. Jack Welch, the former chairman of General Electric, one of the most respected CEOs on the planet, is also an author. So who else is doing it? Celebrities are doing it. Entertainers are doing it. Sports stars are doing it. Politicians are doing it. So what should I publish? Again, as Jill said in the introduction, it's about sharing your knowledge, and you can share it in various formats. Think of it this way. Think of yourself as building out a product line of intellectual property, where the book is the centerpiece of what will eventually become a whole product line. You'll be creating what we call derivative works, other things based on the book. It's more touch points, more ways of getting your content out there. So you've got a book, you've got an ebook, you've got an audiobook possibility. Of course, blogs are a form of publishing. Webzines, podcasts are all forms of publishing. And that same content that forms your book can be chunked down into little pieces and just fed out to people. So how do I do it? You know, as Jill indicated in the introduction, people feel that it's a very daunting task, but in reality, it's not as difficult as you think. Today, let's just take books, for example. You have options. Traditional publishing, that's where you do a press run of 5,000 books, right? Well, today, the publishing world is kind of upside down. The major publishers don't know which end is up. They're still trying to figure out how to become profitable in the digital age, and they haven't quite figured that out yet. They're doing it through acquisition. They're acquiring other companies. So, as a result, what's happened in the traditional publishing world is that they've closed the door on new talent because they're running risk averse. So unless you're previously published, you're doing a scandal tell-all book, you're a Nobel laureate, or in some other way you're a recognized celebrity or expert already, you probably won't get a traditional publishing contract. I was fortunate I did. However, most people will not. But at the same time as traditional publishing is upside down and has slammed the door on new talent, the world of self-publishing has just exploded. So, how many ways can you self-publish? Well, the original way of doing it was for you to go out and commission a press run yourself of 5,000 books, pay $2 a book, spend $10,000 and have a garage full of books and try to figure out how to get rid of them. That model is basically out the window today, right? Another way to self-publish is to do a short run on a digital press, which means today's presses can accommodate only 100 books or 50 books or 250 books, right? At which point you're paying a little bit more per book, but you're not laying out as much out of pocket. However, there's yet another option that's even more attractive to first-time authors, and that is print on demand. Print on demand is now the new standard for first-time authors. So this is what we've done for many of our authors. What does it mean? It means that every single copy of every book is printed, bound, and shipped through an automated process as ordered, which means you don't have to maintain any inventory whatsoever. You can order one book, you can order 10 books, you can order 50 or 100 books when you're going to go out and use them to present. So you've got options today that you never had before. Okay, now, what I want to show you are some different books that were done through these different processes. What I defy you to do is to figure out which books were produced which way. All right? So here's a slide with 3 books that were done through one publishing process. And here's a slide of 2 books done through a different publishing process. And here's another slide showing 3 books done through still another process, as are these. Now, what you can't tell, because the state of the art is so good, is that the first slide were actually traditionally published books. The second slide were short-run digital. The other slides that you see are actually all print-on-demand books that look just as good as any other. Now, you may not find them on the shelves in Barnes & Noble, but you can go on Amazon and you can order those same books. Okay, as are these books, the same, also print-on-demand. Now, what I want to show you is a before and after case. If you look at the book on the left, the author came to us with that book and asked us if we could promote it. And we said we can, but if you let us work with you to improve it, it'll go a lot farther. The book on the right is a makeover of the first book on the left, and went much, much farther because of the improved cover, because of the catchy title, and because of a much more professional design. These are also print-on-demand books. Again, I defy you to tell the difference. So, what does it cost? Well, as I indicated before, if you were going to do a full press run out of pocket, you'd probably be looking at spending $10,000. If you're doing a short run digital, you're probably going to spend about $5 a book. If you're doing, 100, 250 books, right? And if you're doing print on demand, you'll pay a one-time fee of approximately $700 for all the setup, and then just a per copy price. Ebooks, today we can do print on demand, paperback, and ebook at the same time for no additional cost. However, if you want to do an ebook only, you can do those for between $100 and $250. Audiobooks professionally recorded cost a little more, right? They cost close to $3,000 and up to do a good quality audiobook. However, when it comes to the audiobooks today, so much of it is downloadable or streamed that you don't have to go into duplication. Okay, so now you've published. Now what? What do you do? Okay, there's 8 million titles on Amazon. How do you make yours stand out? Well, that's where promotion comes in. So there are a whole series of different ways to promote a book. All of them can help. One is to get reviews, not just reviews from friends and family, but professional reviews from people in the media, right? Interviews, if you get interviewed on the airwaves or in print or online, right, that's going to get, again, more credibility, and you're going to create backlinks because all of those articles and all of those interviews and all of those reviews are going to mention your website and drive people back to your site. Now, when it comes to interviews, here's the most important thing to keep in mind. Don't plug the book. The book is your calling card. It gets you in the door. What the interviewer is interested in is the wisdom in your head and the passion in your heart. What can you offer their audience? Okay? Feature stories. If you're really doing a job of promoting yourself or you're hiring a publicist to do it, you should get some feature stories as well, especially if your book has legs, if it's got some real teeth to it. Book signings, definitely. You can do them at bookstores, you can do them at trade shows, conferences, conventions. I mentioned affiliate relationships. So what's that about? Well, when I wrote my first book, it was an advertising guidebook for small businesses. I came out of the broadcast industry. I knew that there was a crying need among broadcast advertising salespeople to become more expert at advertising. So I knew then to go to the trade associations that service that industry and educate that industry. So I went to the Radio Advertising Bureau and the National Association of Broadcasters, and I made arrangements with them. They sold the books at their trade shows and conferences. They sold the books in their online stores. So look for affiliate relationships where there's a connection between the subject matter of your book and the the organization. All right, press parties, yes, by all means, if you can get them to attend, that's going to help. Those of us who are authors, we look at our Amazon rankings the way other people look at their stocks. You can see a definite relationship between an Amazon ranking. I mentioned before that there's 8 million titles in Amazon, and if you look at the bottom of any book entry on Amazon, you'll see what its ranking is on any given day relative to all the other books. Here's what you'll find. If you get media exposure, whether it's a review, an interview, a feature story, when you get that media exposure, you will see a blip, you will see an uptick in your Amazon ranking as a direct result. And you can actually just watch it trend up. And of course, you're going to be looking at book sales as well. So our authors have appeared in all types of media. For example, Entrepreneur Magazine, Private Wealth Magazine, the Miami Herald, Polestar Magazine, which services the concert industry, New Jersey Business Magazine, Sales and Marketing Management Magazine. They've been on MSNBC TV, Channel 9 TV, The Record of Hackensack, Startup Journal, which is owned by the Wall Street Journal, Forbes.com, the Huffington Post, KABC Radio out in Los Angeles. There's so many outlets that you can get to if you just have the effort going. So how do you monetize the book? Well, most of us don't go out there expecting to make a bestseller out of the book. Everybody writes for a different reason. As we said, the first reason is to share the knowledge. The second reason is to promote your business. The third reason for most of us is to make money. However, making money back on your investment in your publishing is important. So when you can do speaking engagements and get paid for those engagements. You can do speaking engagements where you ask the organization that sponsors you to buy the books and give them out, or to include them in the price that the people pay to attend. You can do your own workshops and seminars around the subject matter of the book. And of course, if you build out that full product line, like we said, not just the book, but the CDs and the DVDs of your live speaking engagements, the webinars, the teleseminars, when you build out the whole product line and then you start selling the package, now your average unit price, your ticket goes up. Instead of selling a $12.95 paperback, you could be selling something for $200 or $300. So that's how you monetize the book. So if you want to learn more, by all means, feel free to contact us. I'll be happy to take calls. We've helped over 20 authors launch their books. One author came back to us 3 times over with his book. Many of the books we do are business books. And if you just have questions on how to get started, feel free as well. Thank you, and it's been a pleasure, and I welcome your calls, your questions, your comments, your emails.
Terrific. So Barry, I have a couple of questions for you that I'm sure anyone watching this
Sure.
will have. You've worked with a lot of people, first-time authors, right? That's clear.
Yes, many.
What's usually the toughest thing about just getting started?
Well, the toughest thing for most people is the thought organizer, and I actually have a little questionnaire that I send to people called a thought starter, which I'll be happy to send free to anybody that wants one. And it'll help them to organize their thoughts and to begin to put them together in the form of an outline.
And, everyone thinks that their idea is so unique. So before you even get to that outline part, everyone thinks that their idea is so unique. How do you really know that you have material that's worthy of a book?
Well, the first thing to do is hopefully you have an advisory board or somebody like the people at Eiffel to bounce it off of, and you should. The other thing to do is to start looking at what's already out there. See, are there already books on this subject? How do they compare to yours? Right? What do they cover? What do they not cover? We actually had to do this with our second book. The publisher actually pulled back and held the presses and the release date because they were getting pushback from the bookstores saying, well, there's a lot of books on this subject already. So I literally spent half a day at Barnes & Noble going through all the competitive books and showing them what was different and better about ours, what we covered, what they didn't cover, how we covered it in more depth.
And it's just that simple?
Well, it really is. I mean, people think it's such a daunting task to write a book, to get it out there. It's really not. I mean, I wrote my first 2 books, which were each 70,000 words, in 6 months each while running my business 48 hours a week. All it took was a dedicated block of 4 to 5 hours a week every week for 6 months straight, and it was done.
You make it sound so easy, Barry.
It can be. It really can be.
And I think what you're kind of saying is it is, but there's a strategy, a plan, and a process for doing this, and sometimes it just requires some outside intervention, a la a group like yours, like you, to help guide you through the process.
Exactly. And, a lot of the books that have come to us, the manuscripts, are books that are already good, but what I do is I take them from good to great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think what's really interesting in looking at the images that you had of some of the books before and after, really interesting to note that the graphics, the cover, the way it's packaged can make a huge difference, especially the title, and that's where having some expertise really comes into play.
Absolutely. You have to think about how many seconds do any of us spend looking at a book, whether it's the spine of the book on the shelf at Barnes & Noble or whether it's the cover of the book on Amazon. You only spend a number of seconds, and if that title doesn't grab you, you're out of there.
Yeah, and what else I think was really eye-opening for me is when you talked about the pricing, the price to write a book really is within the affordable realm now. And there are so many ways to publish and get the content out there that you can actually have a book that may yield you a much higher result and that may have a lot more impact with your audience than spending that same amount of money on different marketing campaigns that you don't know if they will work.
Right, it's true, and obviously we've proven that. When you see, we've made the author that we did the makeover for, I mean, she went Amazon bestseller, because of all that publicity.
Any parting words for our audience who, and we got some really good interest on this when we put it out there that we were doing this webinar with you. I got some good interest from people saying, hey, I've been wanting to write a book. I've been thinking about this, and they've been thinking, and I'm sure thinking some more and still not acting. So any parting words?
Right. The parting words are right. Stop putting it off. Sit down at that computer and get going. It's not that difficult. Get started, because if you don't, your competition will.
Great, Barry. Thank you so much. This is
very welcome.
Really helpful. We hope that we can get some of you out there started writing your book. You see Barry's information is here. You can go to his website. And he mentioned that he has that guideline to help people organize their thoughts for writing a book. I would encourage you, if you've been thinking about it in any way, or maybe you haven't been thinking about it so much, and now this has put the thought into your head, go ahead and follow up. There's no time to act like the present. So go ahead and get started writing that book. And if you need some help in thinking about how to frame your expertise in some areas that might be of interest out there to your audience, we are certainly happy to help you. And if we can just go to the next slide, you'll see our information at the Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership. We are more than happy to help you get started in this phase of your journey, that is writing a book, or to help you with other challenges that you may be having with your business in getting it to the next level. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you again to our presenter, Barry Cohen from AdLab Media Communications. We look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. Thanks for joining us. Take care.